Good morning, children. Hearty welcome to all of you for today's session. As we know, we have already started a lesson from our Beehive textbook, The Bond of Love. It's written by Kenneth Anderson. Okay, so before moving ahead with the new portion, I'll give you a brief summary of the portion that I taught you in the last class. Listen. In this story, the narrator highlights the emotional bond shared by his wife and their pet bear, Bruno. The narrator got the bear in an accident. It was a baby bear and presented it to his wife. She named the bear Bruno and treated it like a baby. The bear was fed milk with a bottle. Later, it started eating different food items. He enjoyed eating and drinking everything and anything. Bruno was attached to everyone, including their tenants' children and their pet Alsatian dogs. It would play, run around the house, and even sleep on their bed. One day, accidentally it ate poison. Do you remember the name of the poison, children? Yes, barium carbonate, which had been kept in the library to kill rats. Bruno was under a fit of paralysis and was taken to a veterinary doctor. He was injected twice and finally revived. After a while, Bruno resumed eating normally, continued eating normally. In another accident, he drank a gallon of old engine oil, which the narrator had kept to fight a termite attack. This did not have any ill effect on Bruno. As days passed, Bruno grew bigger, but remained sweet and playful. The narrator's wife changed his name to Baba, which was a Hindustani word for a small boy. He had learned a few tricks too. When commanded Baba wrestle, Baba box, what he would do? He would tackle and attack the person. When ordered Baba hold a gun, he would point a stick at the person. When asked Baba where is the baby, he would take out a piece of wood and cradle it affectionately like a baby. As he was big now, he had to be chained because he could harm the tenant's children. Children, this much portion we have completed in our last class. So let's see the new portion. Okay, let me read the paragraph. Paragraph number 13, children. Then my son and I advised my wife, and friends advised her too, to give Baba to the zoo at Mysore. He was getting too big to keep at home. After some weeks of such advice, she at last consented. Hastily, and before she could change her mind, a letter was written to the curator of the zoo. Did he want a tame bear for his collection? He replied, yes. The zoo sent a cage from Mysore in a lorry and a distance of 87 miles, and Baba was packed. What is happening there, children? See the word curator. What do you mean by curator? Curator means a person in charge of the zoo. Curator, a person in charge of the zoo. Okay, so let's see the explanation of that paragraph. So what is going on there, children? Yes, Baba has grown, or Bruno has grown. Okay, so he had to be kept chained most of the time. Then the narrator and his wife advised to send Baba to the zoo. See the sentence, children. Then my son and I advised my wife, and friends advised her too, to give Baba to the zoo at Mysore. There is a zoo at Mysore. So the narrator and his son advised to send Baba to the zoo. But when her friends advised her, she agreed to give Baba to the zoo at Mysore. When his wife was advised so by her friends, she agreed, and a letter was written to the zoo in charge, that is, what is the curator, to inquire if he would like to keep a bear at the zoo. So, what was the reply given by the curator? Yes, yes, he wanted. Baba was sent to Mysore Zoo, packed in a cage, kept in a lorry. Okay, so he traveled a distance of 87 miles to reach the zoo. Did you get the content of the paragraph, children? Yes, the narrator and his son advised to send Baba to the zoo. When his wife was advised so by her friends, she agreed, and a letter was written to the zoo in charge, curator, to inquire if he would like to keep a bear at the zoo. So, he affirmed. What do you mean by he affirmed? Yes, he wanted. He gave a positive reply. And then Baba was sent to Mysore Zoo, packed in a cage, kept on a lorry. He travelled a distance of 87 miles to reach the zoo. Thus, Baba was packed off. Okay, so the next paragraph. We all missed him greatly, but in a sense, we were relieved. My wife was inconsolable. She wept and fretted. For the first few days, she would not eat anything. Then she wrote a number of letters to the curator. How was Baba? Back came the replies. Well, but fretting. He refuses food too. So, what's the meaning of fretting, children? Fretting means worried, unhappy, not relaxed. Meaning is given in your textbook, children. Fretting means worried, unhappy, not relaxed. So, what happened to Baba, children, when he was sent to the zoo in Mysore? What happened to him? Yes, we all missed him greatly. The narrator and his family missed him greatly. But in a sense, they were relieved. What's the reason, children? Yes, although everyone missed Baba, but they were relaxed too. But what's the condition of the narrator's wife? The narrator's wife was disturbed. She wept and worried about Baba's well being. What happened to her, children? Yes, his wife was inconsolable. That's what's the meaning of inconsolable? She wept and fretted. Inconsolable means very upset. So, what he was doing there, children? Yes, she wept. She fretted. She was fretted means she was unhappy. She was not relaxed. She was worried. So, for the first few days, she would not eat anything. Initially, she did not eat or drink. Then, what did she do instead? She wrote letters to the zoo in charge to inquire about Baba. The curator or the zoo in charge replied that Baba was also undergoing a similar situation like her. So, what's the reply given by the curator, children? How was Baba? Yes, back came the replies. Well, but fretting, he refuses food too. So, what happened to him? Yes, the curator replied that Baba was also undergoing a similar condition, or Baba was also undergoing a similar situation like her. That means he was also not at all happy there. He was not at all happy there. He was very sad. He also refuses food there. Okay. So let's move on to the next paragraph. After that, friends visiting Mysore were begged to make a point of going to the zoo and seeing how Baba was getting along. They reported that he was well but looked very thin and sad. All the keepers at the zoo said he was fretting. For 3 months I managed to restrain my wife from visiting Mysore. Then she said one day, I must see Baba. Either you take me by car or I will go myself by bus or train. So I took her by car. So what's the condition of Baba and the narrator's wife, children? Yes, both of them followed the same condition. Both of them had the same condition, similar condition. Both of them were fretting, they were worried and happy, they were not relaxed. So, what did she do? She would ask her friends visiting Mysore to visit Baba and check out on him. So, the narrator's wife, friends visiting Mysore were begged to make a point of going to the zoo and seeing how Baba was getting along. So, what's the meaning of that, son, children? Yes, the narrator's wife, she would ask her friends visiting Mysore, or she begged her friends to visit the zoo in Mysore. For what, children? To visit Baba and check out on him. So everyone who visited the Mysore Zoo gave a similar report that Baba was fine but appeared thin and sad. What's the reason, children? He looked very thin because he refuses food. All the keepers at the zoo said he was fretting. All the curators, the staff at the zoo said that he seemed worried. He seemed worried. He was fretting. He was not at all happy. For 3 months, I managed to restrain my wife from visiting Mysore. What's the meaning of restrain, children? Yes, for 3 months, the narrator managed to stop her. For 3 months, the narrator managed to stop her from visiting Mysore or from visiting Baba. Then one day she said, I must see Baba. What is the condition? Yes, one day she said that she wanted to see Baba. If he would not take her, she would go herself by train or bus. At last, or finally, they went to see Baba at the zoo. So at last, what happened, children? After 3 months, the narrator's wife, she became stubborn. She wanted to see her Baba, or she wanted to see Bruno. She said, I must see Baba. Either you take me by car or I will go myself by bus or train. So, what did she say, children? Yes, one day she said that she wanted to see Baba, and if he would not take her, then she would go herself by train or bus. Finally, they went to see Baba at the zoo. Okay, so next paragraph. Friends had conjectured that the bear would not recognize her. I had thought so too. But while she was yet some yards from his cage, Baba saw her and recognized her. He howled with happiness. She ran up to him, petted him through the bars, and he stood on his head in delight. So, what's happening there, children? Yes, their friends, they predicted. They predicted that Baba would not recognize her. They had a bet that Baba would not recognize the narrator's wife. But the narrator had seen a different side there. What's happening there, children? Yes, she was a few steps away from the cage when Baba saw her and he recognized her. He screamed with happiness. He howled. Have you seen that word? Howled. He screamed with happiness. She ran up to him, petted him, and Baba was very happy to have her back. Did you get the sentence, children? Yes. Friends had conjectured. What's the meaning of conjectured, children? It's given in your textbook. Formed an opinion by guessing. So, what's a guessing? Or what's the prediction of her friends? Friends had predicted, or friends had guessed that the bear would not recognize her. I had thought so too. What do you mean by that? I had thought so too. Yes, the narrator too thought that the bear would not recognize her. But actually, what happened there, children? Yes, he became surprised. What's the reason? Yes, she was a few steps away from the cage when Baba saw her and recognized her. Then what did he do? The bear, Bruno, he screamed with happiness. He howled with happiness. She ran up to him. The narrator's wife ran up to him, petted him, and Baba was very happy to have her back. Baba was very happy to have her back means Baba was very happy to see her there. Clear? Okay, let's move on to the next paragraph. For the next 3 hours, she would not leave that cage. She gave him tea, lemonade, cakes, ice cream, and whatnot. Then closing time came, and we had to leave. My wife cried bitterly. Baba cried bitterly. Even the hardened curator and the keepers felt depressed. As for me, I had reconciled myself to what I knew was going to happen next. So, what's happening there, children? Yes, she remained there for 3 hours. Who remained there for 3 hours? Yes, the narrator's wife. She remained there for 3 hours with Baba. She fed Baba different things which were his favorites. As the zoo had to close, they had to leave. That is what is the closing time written in our paragraph, children. See, have you seen that? Yes, here it is. Then closing time came and we had to leave. So what's going on there? Yes, they had to leave as the zoo had to close. The narrator's wife did not want to leave Baba and both of them cried bitterly. Who cried bitterly? The narrator's wife and Bruno. Both of them cried bitterly. Even the zoo in charge was sad. Have you seen the sentence, children? Even the zoo in charge. See, even the hardened curator and the keepers felt depressed. So even the zoo in charges, they were also became sad. The narrator was fine because he knew that the next step would be to take Baba back along to Bengaluru. What is happening there, children? Yes, as for me, I had reconciled myself to what I knew was going to happen. So the narrator, he was fine because he knew that the next step would be to take Baba back along to Bengaluru. Okay, so let's see the next paragraph, children. Yes. Oh, please, sir, she asked the curator, may I have my Baba back? Hesitantly, he answered, Madam, he belongs to the zoo and is government property now. I cannot give away government property, but if my boss, the superintendent at Bangalore, agrees, certainly you may have him back. So, what did she do, children? Yes, as the narrator predicted, that happened. The next moment, the narrator's wife, he requested the in charge that she wanted to take Baba back. Oh, please, sir, may I have my Baba back? So, what's the reply given by the in charge? Yes, the wife requested the in charge that she wanted to take Baba back. He replied that the bear was now. He belongs to the zoo and is government property now. So, what's the reply given by him? Madam, he belongs to the zoo and is government property now. So, I cannot give away government property. I cannot give away government property. So, he replied that the bear was government property and that she needed permission from the superintendent in Bangalore or Bengaluru. So if my boss, the superintendent at Bangalore, agrees, certainly you may have him back. So what's the reply given by the in-charge children? Yes, he replied that the bear was government property and that she needed permission from the superintendent Bangalore. Then the next paragraph. There followed the return journey to Bangalore and a visit to the superintendent's Bangalore. A tearful pleading, Baba and I are both fretting for each other. Will you please give him back to me? He was kind-hearted man. He was a kind-hearted man and consented. Not only that, but he wrote to the curator telling him to lend us a cage for transporting the bear to Bangalore. So what's the thing there, children? Let's see the explanation. So there followed a return journey to Bangalore. So they returned to Bangalore and visited the superintendent at his Bangalore. He cried and requested that both of them had been worrying for each other. Have you seen that sentence, children? Oh, please, she asked the curator, may I have my Baba back? The same condition happened in the superintendent's Bangalore. A tearful pleading, Baba and I are both fretting for each other. Will you please give him back to me? Then what type of man was the superintendent? He was a kind-hearted man. She requested to have Baba back. The superintendent was a kind-hearted man and he accepted her request. Not only that, but he wrote to the curator telling him to lend us a cage. So, first of all, what did he do? He accepted her request. Then He wrote a letter to the zoo in charge to arrange a cage for transporting Baba to Bengaluru. So the superintendent, he was a kind-hearted man. He consented, or he agreed to the narrator's wife to take him back. Then he had done one more favor. What was it, children? Yes, he wrote to the zoo in charge to arrange a cage. For what, children? To arrange a cage for transporting Baba to Bengaluru. Okay, so let's move on to the next paragraph. Back we went to Mysore again. Armed with the superintendent's letter, Baba was driven into a small cage and hoisted on top of the car. The cage was tied securely and a slow and careful return journey to Bangalore was accomplished. Okay, so let's see the next paragraph's new words. Hoisted. Have you seen the word, children? Paragraph number 20, third line, hoisted. You know, hoisting flag. So here also the same meaning. Hoisted means raised by means of ropes or pulleys. Hoisted means raised. Then the second one, accomplished. Accomplished means completed. So let's see the explanation. Back we went to Mysore again. So they went to Mysore. For what, children? Yes, with the superintendent's letter to take Baba back. So back we went to Mysore again, armed with the superintendent's letter. Did you get the sentence, children? Yes. So they went to Mysore with the superintendent's letter. Then Baba was put in a cage and the cage was kept on top of the car. Did you get the sentence? Baba was driven into a small cage. Baba was put in a small cage and the cage was kept on the top of the car. That is what is hoisted. Hoisted means raised. So, and the cage was kept on the top of the car. Then they returned to Bangalore. It was tied securely and they returned to Bangalore. So the cage was tied securely and a slow and careful return journey to Bangalore was accomplished. Accomplished means completed. That means Baba was returning, or Baba returned to his own house, or Baba returned to the narrator's house. It was in Bangalore. Okay, so let's move on to the next paragraph. Once home, a squad of coolies were engaged for special work in our compound. An island was made for Baba. It was 20 feet long and 15 feet wide and was surrounded by a dry pit or moat, 6 feet wide and 7 feet deep. A wooden box that once housed fowls was brought and put on the island for Baba to sleep in at night. Straw was placed inside to keep him warm, and his baby, the gnarled stump, along with his gun, the piece of bamboo, both of which had been sentimentally preserved since he had been sent away to the zoo, were put back for him to play with. Okay, it's a lengthy paragraph. So let's see the explanation, children. Here it is. Squad, you know, what's the meaning of squad? What's the meaning of squad? Squad means team. Then gnarled, G is silent, G-N-A-R-L-E-D. Gnarled means rugged. What do you mean by rugged? Twisted. Okay, gnarled means twisted. So, at their home in Bengaluru, a team of workers were employed. A team of workers was employed to execute some work in the backyard. So what's happening there, children? Once home, a squad of coolies, a team of coolies were engaged. A team of coolies were employed to execute some work in their compound. As Baba was a full-grown bear, what's the reason, children? Baba was a full-grown bear. He had to be kept isolated. So an island which was 20 feet long and 16 feet wide was built. It was surrounded by a dry pit which was 6 feet wide and 7 feet deep. See, it was made like this because the bear would not be able to cross the pit over to areas that were inhabited by people, as it could be a threat to them. So things which were used by Baba had been kept securely. These were kept on the island. They were a wooden box which was previously used to keep cocks and hens and would now be used by Baba to sleep in night. Straw was kept in the box to keep him warm. A piece of wood which Baba cradled like a baby. The stick that he used to point a gun were also placed on the island so that he could play with them. Okay, so what is going on there, children? Let me give you the explanation once again. Once home, a squad of coolies were engaged for special work in their compound. So, a group of or a team of workers was employed to execute some work in the backyard or some work in their compound. What's the reason, children? Because Baba was a full grown bear, so he had to be kept isolated, he had to be kept alone. So, an island was built, an island was made for Baba. Then, how is in the size of the island, children? Yes, an island which was 20 feet long and 15 feet wide was built. It was surrounded by a dry pit or moat. It was surrounded, the island was surrounded by a dry pit which was 6 feet wide and 7 feet deep. You know what's the reason? It was made like this because the bear would not be able to cross the pit over to the areas that were inhabited by people, because sometimes it might be a threat to people. So things which were used by Baba had been kept securely. So which are the things, children? Yes, there was a wooden stick, the piece of wood which Baba cradled like a baby. The stick that he used to point a gun were also placed in the island so that he could play with them. Then, first of all, things were used by Baba had been kept securely by the narrator's wife. Then these were kept in the island too. Then there was a wooden box which was previously used to keep cocks and hens. Have you seen the sentence, children? Yes, a wooden box that once housed fowls. Fowls means poultry, domestic hen, cock. So a wooden box that once housed fowls was brought and put it on the island for Baba to sleep at night. Straw was placed inside to keep him warm, and his baby, who is his baby, is gnarled stump. What's the meaning of gnarled, children? Yes, a twisted stump, not so straight. Gnarled means twisted or rugged. A twisted. So, gnarled stump, a twisted stump along with his gun, a piece of bamboo. What was his gun, children? It was a piece of bamboo. Both of them had been sentimentally preserved since he had been sent away to the zoo. The narrator's wife, she had been sentimentally preserved all these things when he was away from the house. Then they were also put back for him to play with. Okay. Next paragraph. In a few days, the coolies hoisted the cage onto the island, and Baba was released. He was delighted. Standing on his hind legs, he pointed his gun and cradled his baby. My wife was sitting on a chair there while he sat on her lap. He was 15 months old and pretty heavy too. So, what's in that paragraph, children? Yes. When the island was ready, the workers placed the cage on the island. Clear, children? Yes, when the island was ready, the workers or the coolies, they raised the cage onto the island, and Baba was released, and Baba was removed from that cage. So he was so happy to be free, stood on his back legs. Hind legs means back legs. He was so delighted, he became so happy, and he stood on his back legs. Pointed the stick and cradled the piece of wood. So what he was doing there, children? Yes, he pointed his gun and he cradled his baby because he was so excited, he was so happy. Then what about the condition of the narrator's wife? The narrator's wife spent many hours with him as he lay in her lap, although he was 15 months old. See, he was 15 months old and pretty heavy too. Even if he was 15 months old and even if he was quite heavy in weight, where he was sitting, children? Yes, the narrator's wife, she spent many hours with him. Then by that time, Bruno laid in her lap, although he was 15 months old and was quite heavy in weight. So that is what is the emotional bond in between the narrator's wife and Bruno. Even if he was 15 months old, even if he was pretty heavy too, he was lying on the narrator's wife's lap. Okay, so let's move on to the concluding paragraph of our lesson. See, the way my wife reaches the island and leaves it is interesting. I have tied a rope to the overhanging branch of a mango tree with a loop at its end. Putting one foot in the loop, she kicks off with the other to bridge the 6-foot gap that constitutes the width of the surrounding pitch. The return journey is made the same way, but who can say now that a sloth bear has no sense of affection, no memory, and no individual characteristics? See, here is a question for you children. You have to think deeply and find out the answer. It's very simple. Okay, so let's see the explanation. The narrator's wife visits Baba frequently. Now, where is he, children? Yes, he is comfortable in an island that's made on the backyard of their house. So, the narrator's wife visits Baba frequently. And the way in which she reaches and leaves the island, it's very interesting. Have you seen that sentence? The way my wife reaches the island and leaves the island, it's quite interesting. The way. So let's see. How does she reach the island and leave? Okay. So how does she reach and leave the island? Let's see. It's quite interesting. The narrator says it's quite interesting. So let's see how much it was interesting to us. They have a rope tied to a mango tree with a loop at one end. Understood, children? Yes, they have a rope tied to a mango tree with a loop at one end. So putting one foot in the loop, she kicks off with the other. So what she was doing there, children? Yes, they have a rope tied to a mango tree with a loop at one end. So she would place one foot in the loop and kick off with the other. Then this way she would fly in the air to cover the 6-foot long distance to reach the island. So as we know, an island, how it was built, children? Yes, the island was built like this. See, here it is in the paragraph. Yes, an island was made for Baba. Come to page number 21. Not page number 21, paragraph number 21. An island was made for Baba. It was 20 feet long and 15 feet wide and was surrounded by a dry pitch, 6 feet wide and 6 feet deep. Did you get that? So the island was made for Baba. It was 20 feet long and 15 feet wide. And the island was surrounded by a dry pitch, 6 feet wide and 7 feet deep. So what she was doing with that rope, children? Yes, she would place one foot in the loop and kick off with the other. This way, she would fly in the air to cover the 6-foot long distance to reach the island. So, with the help of a loop or with the help of a rope, the rope was tied to a mango tree with a loop at one end. So, the narrator's wife, she would place one foot in the loop and kick off with the other. This way, she would fly in the air to cover the 6-foot distance in between the land and the island. So, she would make the return trip also in a similar way. Is it quite interesting, isn't it, children? Yes, she would make a return trip in a similar way. On seeing the affection shared by Baba and the narrator's wife, we can conclude that animals have emotions. The return journey is made the same way. But who can say now that a sloth bear has no sense of affection, no memory, no individual character? So, can you say, children? Yes, we can say, or we can conclude that animals have emotions. That's the answer to that question. Animals have emotions. They remember people. They have memory. They remember people. All of them have individual qualities, just like human beings have. Clear? All the animals. So, what's the concept of our narrator, children? The name of our narrator is Kenneth Anderson. So, according to the narrator, each and every animal, they have emotions. They remember people. And all of them have individual qualities just like human beings have. So, here comes an end of our lesson, children. Today, I'll give you the notes. Don't forget to write the notes, children. Complete it. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for you to complete the notes as a bulk. So complete your notes daily. So today I'll give you the notes of the whole lesson and at the same time a short paragraph about the writer also. Okay children, thank you. Have a nice day.